Let's turn now to a big question that's been looming here in Ottawa. Will a federal election be called? Canadians are still waiting to find out, but if there is one, it will look very different from the ones in the past. That's because of the pandemic, of course. So let's bring in the CBC's Hilary Johnstone, who is following this story for us. Hey, Hilary. First off, federal elections typically feature leaders campaigning across the country, shaking hands, kissing babies. How would this one work if it is to be called?
Hi there, Hannah. Well, you can probably expect that there will be a lot less door-to-door canvassing, for example. People probably a lot more afraid of the idea of opening their door to a stranger to talk politics during a pandemic. And you can probably expect that there's going to be a lot more virtual events, all of that sort of thing. So I've been speaking with one strategist who says that when it comes to ads, he expects that there'll be a lot more digital ads rather than TV and radio, that sort of thing. And he anticipates that we will see fewer of these leader tours and a lot more virtual events where they can safely have people gathered, try and bring up the energy level, despite the fact that we are in a pandemic. Now, of course, what does it mean for rallies? Rallies are so important during election campaigns for their leaders to try and pump up the crowds, try and make sure that Canadians across the country can see when a leader is popular in a specific area and on a specific issue. So will we see that? Well, according to one former Liberal strategist who I spoke with, he says that he anticipates we will see rallies because they are so important, but there will likely be fewer of them, and possibly a big one at the beginning and end of a campaign, but during the middle, over the course of the campaign, we could see much smaller events at different campaign headquarters within the different constituency offices. So that is what David Hurley thinks, and he's a former Liberal strategist. And what about if one of these events were to become a super spreader event? Of course, there's always that fear as well. And he said that that is going to be a nightmare scenario for any campaign, but that it could have different types of repercussions for different parties. Let's listen to him.
I think it would be a bad event for either party. If the Conservatives had non-vaccinated people at their event and it became a super spreader event, then it brings their judgment and their attitude toward vaccination into play. If the Liberals were to have a fully vaccinated event that still somehow turned out to be a super spreader event, then their judgment in calling the election itself gets called into question. People are saying, well, why did you call an election in a period where you could? So I think it would be highly dangerous for both sides, but I think the prospects of that happening for the Liberals are less than for happening to the Conservatives.
And why does he think the prospect of that happening to the Liberals is less likely? Well, he says because he anticipates that the Liberals will likely bring in some sort of mandatory vaccination policy for anyone who attends in-person Liberal events. Could see something similar with the NDP, perhaps. When it comes to the Conservatives, though, what David Hurley said is that that is a lot trickier to navigate because it could cause problems within the party, internal party conflicts about whether or not you make this mandatory. So, of course, all of this is his opinion, but definitely something to watch in the next couple of weeks, Hannah.
Something to watch for sure. And Hilary, I can't let you go. I want to pick your brain. You've been talking to David Hurley, some others. Any sense when that call might come?
Well, this is all speculation,
yeah,
of course, but we have been talking about it for a little while. Some will say that, that the time could possibly be right for Trudeau to call an election when you look at what's been happening recently. But then there's also some concern about the Delta variant, for example, inflation rates. So what David Hurley thinks is that he actually thinks it could happen as early as this coming Sunday. He says because there are some things that the Liberals might be becoming increasingly nervous about, such as perhaps the spread of that Delta variant. So we will have to wait and see what happens, but he thinks it could be as early as this weekend.
Pack my bags already, Hilary? Come on.
We're not I think you might have to, just in case.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for the heads up. Appreciate it. Hilary Johnstone in Ottawa.